Not at all. And it's not so much the fault of the wine industry as it is society in general. And I'm speaking particularly of the United States, where climate change has become very politicized over the last 20 years. And we have not had the governmental consensus to treat it as the emergency that it is. The wine industry is, because of its agricultural nature and because of the sensitivity of wine grapes to even the slightest changes in climate conditions, is kind of a weather vane for how things are going. But the problem is of such a magnitude that whatever the wine industry itself does, however laudable and important, is not going to change the direction of society. We really need the strong initiative of government. I'm more hopeful now with the new administration in the United States, which appears to be taking climate change much more seriously. And just as important as the tone they set, they need to communicate the importance of climate change to consumers, who in turn will send that message to the wine industry. So they need to hear it both from the top and from consumers coming up from the bottom. In the United States, not remotely enough. I mean, it's here in New York City, people still are not serious about such elemental steps as recycling glass and plastics, and we're so far behind where we need to be, and I think partly that's because of the politicized nature of climate change. But even in a place like New York City, which theoretically understands the climate situation, there's just not enough personal motivation. And then it comes back to government by setting policies and incentives that will really help to change the behavior of consumers. I'm not the first person to make this analogy by far, but it's very much like the government role in discouraging smoking, tobacco smoking. And that's made such a difference all over the world, and we need that same sort of unified effort. It's hard for people to think with that sort of long-range scope. We all, and this is true certainly in the wine industry and in all avenues of life. I think, we recognize that 50 years from now, a century from now, things may be very difficult and require major changes, but, we have daily priorities. We have to get, a report done or do the food shopping or all of these things still take precedence, and we have to find some way to make the cluster of issues surrounding climate change to rise to the level of the highest priority. I mean, that's absolutely important in areas where conserving water use is crucial, in California here, for example. But those are, I think, most meaningful in larger estates, well-financed operations. It's probably less practical in family estates. And those sorts of operations are probably going to be less reliant on that sort of technology. But really, it's probably more the bigger estates, because they occupy more land and more space in the wine industry. It's important for them to make use of that sort of technology. Well, climate change is just part of wine, and I think the bigger message is for people to experience the beautiful diversity of what's available around the world these days, and to understand it as an agricultural product and an expression of culture, rather than just a beverage with a collection of aromas and flavors. The best and most interesting wines, not necessarily the rarest or most expensive, all have a history of often centuries of tradition behind them, like people's music or food. And the more I see wine that way, the more fascinating it becomes. And I'd like to be able to inspire people to see wine in that way. Well, we're at a interesting point right now with the pandemic, which has been so hard for so many people. And in the United States, my fear is that it will encourage a consolidation of the industry and a diminishing diversity, because it's been so costly, and it's hard for smaller farmers and producers to keep up. My hope is that because we've all been challenged in this way, we see the beauty of the diversity and we'll be able to take steps to maintain it and preserve it. I think in a larger sense, people around the world have come to really appreciate wine so much more as it's become more democratically distributed. And again, I'm going to, I see two sides here. Wine, like everything else, is kind of is not immune to the concentration of wealth in fewer and fewer hands, and that just disrupts the distribution of wine, because people with wealth will pay whatever they want for whatever is deemed desirable or rare. I would like to see the sorts of rare historical benchmark wines be more accessible to more people, if only so that they can get a taste of what is possible and what is regarded as great and historic. On on the plus side, there are so many other great wines in the world today that have yet to be discovered or yet to be hyper valued by collectors, that there were always wonderful experiences available to people even without a lot of money.